All right, welcome back to the Matriarch Method, where power meets purpose, wisdom leads by example, and women run the show. Ladies, how are we doing?
We're doing.
We are doing.
I feel like I feel like since we're recording in a new time, it's like that 6 o'clock is like starting to take its toll. Where it's like at the end of the day, we're just like moseying all over, but I'm proud of us for showing up.
Big tired. Yeah, no, it's for the listeners that don't know, we've switched our time to record and we're recording now in the evening. I've actually never done podcasts in the evening before. I've always done them in the morning and on a weekend. So like even us doing this on a weekday is very new for me. Well, yeah. It's cool though. No big deal.
Yeah, I've always done lives at 5 p.m. because usually that's better for engagement because people are like off work or eating or whatever. But I've never done a podcast before, so I'm very curious to see my energy levels as prep progresses. And we'll see if I start to like slur my words or just like be talking about something and then completely losing my train of thought. So it's gonna be really interesting, and I appreciate you ladies for like giving me this experience.
Actually, let's talk about that. Do you know how many weeks out you are? How long have you been in prep? Stuff like that.
Truth be told, I don't have hard numbers. Like we're gunning for the end of June. We just got labs back. I didn't look at them because I just don't want that extra stimulation. I just want Austin to be like, hey, this is what we're doing, which is why I sent them over to him, and he's like, hey, this is what we're doing. So we're getting into the part where it's like really starting to hurt. Cardio's high, food is low, or we're starting to add in more fat burners and stuff like that, and stimulants, and also thyroid, just to support. But like I'm overall good. Like it's starting to hurt, but that's what we signed up for in a way when it comes to asking of ourselves, when it comes to getting stage lean. And honestly, I don't really remember my first prep, which is very sad, just because I was so full of anxiety and dread and newness and lack of leadership and guidance, and a lot of people just telling me all the things that I should be experiencing. Like I just never really gave myself the gift of presence, which is why this prep, I wanted to focus more on me being in prep and doing what I need to do and just let Austin do what he needs to do. So I think I've been dieting since January, like late January, and here it is early May. So like I'm hurting, but like this is what I signed up for. Like this is a long time coming and I am excited.
Yeah. I think that that's a really good reflection that you have about your first prep and like presence. And I think that a lot of us get, well, a lot of first time athletes, if they don't have proper guidance, they take on the stress of what a coach is supposed to be stressed out about or care about and make adjustments for. And so that can really affect your prep in general and how you go about it, what your physique looks like on stage, stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
think it's a really good reflection for you because when I think back at my first prep, I was really excited. I don't remember being like I was really excited. I didn't know what to expect.
Mhm.
And I also didn't know what I was doing because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And so, I think that that's something to like think about when you are getting on stage for the first time is like you're not going to know like what you need until you go do it. You're not going to go on stage your first time and be your like best fucking physique ever if you do it again. You're always going to improve because the first time is like you're just figuring yourself out. So
Mhm.
now you know what you need. Now, like, it's just different. It's a different time, way
It
different.
is.
Been years. You're a different person.
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
gonna,
my first prep, I was natural and vegan.
oh, I was vegetarian my first prep, but I think it is that way. You like no matter how good of a coach you have, you like don't know what to expect because you've never done it before, So
Yeah,
it's all new and it's all just like, what's happening? What are we doing?
I
That
will
first show
say.
day, it's like same thing. Like my coach was there in person my first show, but I still was like, what what is happening?
Yeah. No, no, I love that. That's a good reflection, Liz. But I will say that the thing that I've noticed thus far is I am not nearly as food focused, hungry, and craving as my first prep. Because I remember the prep files, I had like If It Fits Your Macros vegan cookbook that I essentially made and pulled out of my ass and did all the volume hacking, all the fluff, the cinnamon bun, like protein, whatever bullshit. And like sometimes Instagram will be like, hey, remember when you did this? And I was like,
Yeah.
but even though my food is like low compared to like what is normal for me, like I don't have cravings. Like I am a little food focused because it's like you're getting that adaptation naturally, like just from an evolutionary standpoint, but it's not like I'm not like setting a timer. I'm like watching it tick down versus my first prep. It was literally like that where I was like, when do I get my next meal? You know what I'm saying? So like that's something that I'm really thankful for is like looking forward to nourishment, not like expecting this like huge rush of dopamine just because I selected like highly processed palatable food because it was about whatever I could fit in my macros, not making the most out of my macro and micronutrient selection.
Yeah. I remember, I think that my last prep was my first like really solid prep. And when I think back at it, I was excited because it was all whole food. So I was excited to have my food so I
Mhm.
could feel a little bit better, but I
Yep.
wasn't like excited for all the things I was going to do with the meal or how I was going to volumize it as much as I possibly could. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just like kind of just checking off boxes and caring more about how I felt rather than like trying to get that quick dopamine hit of like whatever I was doing, or just having my brain focused on the food. It's like I even felt better when I was making the food versus just sitting around,
Yeah.
like messing with it or going to the store and looking at labels and shit. It was crazy. Like it was crazy. So, but I get it.
A meal plan was a lot more helpful in terms of not being as food focused during prep. Like this, I've been on two preps with meal plans and one on macros. And this most recent one on a meal plan was like the least food focused I had ever been.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally like I will do a meal plan if Austin was like, hey, we need to do a meal plan, but I really do like having variety of my fruits and vegetables, and I like playing with colors and flavors and textures. And so it is a way that since I'm no longer baking, just due to the fact that even Eric's dieting now, so it's like, who the fuck's gonna eat it? So it's like I don't really get to express myself in that way through baking, but I can do things like experiment with like air frying, baking, microwaving different like things and seeing what flavor enhances what. So like for example, I have my grocery list and it's like I want to get cucumbers, carrots, and seaweed and do like a little like poke bowl. And like it's nothing life-changing or earth-shattering, but it's still going to taste good and it's still nourishing. So I think having fun in that regard and however you need to get your prep done is how you get your prep done, but also just remembering that this is like a blessing and should be fun and exciting. And it just needs to look that way for you and not letting people tell you what your prep needs to look like based on their experience. It's like just be open. Be open to whatever your prep is going to bring you so you can grow.
Yeah,
Thanks for
mindful for
asking. I appreciate that.
of course. Okay, so we're talking about setting boundaries today, coaching boundaries. Like, I know that for me, the one main thing that I have with like absolute boundaries with my athletes is that on Saturdays, unless I'm putting someone on stage, it's a different story. But on Saturdays, like I don't address anything. And anything that comes to me on Saturdays, I'm not adding it to my next workload day. Like, no, that's not part of my office hours. So like I'll just let them know like, hey, this came on a day that I don't take work, so I won't be addressing this. You can resend it on like a day that I'm working. And I know that sounds like I don't know if that sounds brash or that sounds mean, I don't know, but I find that it just helps me without like to not have that pressure in my brain of needing to address something that I can easily address same day, like Monday through Friday, and even sometimes Sundays, depending on how much I need to do on Sunday. Um, and so that's like my one like non-negotiable. There are some other things in terms of boundaries that like depending on the day and the time, kind of I have to let slip a little bit. But I would say like for the most part, my main thing that helps me continue to stay renewed and excited about my job is not giving myself pressure on Saturdays and Sundays really, but Saturdays is the main day where I'm like, don't send me anything. But Sundays I don't take check-ins at all. I will only respond to check-ins Monday through Thursday. So
you
I also don't.
scared to
What's
take,
up?
were you scared to take Saturday off?
No,
No.
no. I have never been the coach that worked like nonstop 7 days a week.
Mhm.
Like I've never been that. I think that I address things more. Like but it wasn't like I was working. Like it didn't burn me out. But once I set that, I think that I was mostly, if I was scared of anything, I was scared of taking Fridays and Sundays off of check-ins. Um, because I felt like, I couldn't serve people that wanted to check in on Fridays and Sundays. But then I realized that, I have my own schedule and I have my own way that I'm going to be able to give my best self to these people. And they hired me for a reason. And so they want to see me at my best too. So it's okay to set that boundary. So,
Like,
Yeah, I started with Saturdays off and then I added Sundays off maybe a few months ago. And I was scared to add the Sunday off, like, because that was the whole weekend. And then once I did it, all my athletes were just like, yeah, like a normal job, you work just 5 days a week. That's okay. Like, we're happy for you, And I have the away message on WhatsApp, so people get that if they do send a message and I'll address it when I get back, but it hasn't been an issue at all.
I like
yeah.
that. I was that person that was, oh, no days off is how I'm gonna grow the quickest, right? And that was the quickest way to burn myself out of coaching, to always feel on, even if I wasn't being requested. It was that mental stimulation, that mental pressure where it's like, but what if someone has a question? And this just like, at least for me, it was like having my phone notifications on constantly, not utilizing do not disturb, not utilizing like clock in, clock off times, and just being constantly available, even though yes, I slept and like did things. What ended up happening is I ended up becoming like less of myself. So like when you like edit things on Canva, you can do like a transparency slide if you want to like make things cool. What I felt was happening to me is my transparency went from 100% and slowly started to go down. Because even if I was like on dates with Eric or hanging out with friends or spending time with family or doing literally anything, I felt like I couldn't fully be present because I needed to be near my laptop or on my phone to make sure that my athletes were taken care of because I was worried if I wasn't servicing them with immediate messages that they would go elsewhere. And that expectation was solely on me. Like no reasonable human being will expect instantaneous like messaging like that because that's not how the world works, right? There needs to be time to think about like to receive a message, to receive a question, and think logically through it without reacting and just spitfiring. And so not only was I becoming less of a person and less of a coach, I was being a worse coach because I wasn't carefully thinking through their program design, their needs. And a lot of the time I was absorbing their emotions because usually these were like emotional messages. And I was reacting to that emotion rather than guiding as a coach. And that's something where setting boundaries for me was not only impactful for, log in, log off times, but utilizing services like do not disturb, utilizing like proper check-in days, utilizing time blocking. So where I'm answering check-ins from here to here, training videos from here to here. If they have a one-off question or they send me labs, like my time is scheduled for my clients, but it's also scheduled for myself to eat, to train, to do cardio, to spend time with my husband, to talk to my friends. Like things that should be quote unquote no brainers, but personally, as a female entrepreneur that was so scared of being left behind, like I did so much damage because I didn't set boundaries for myself.
I feel like since I have transitioned from a team to being on my own, I've definitely struggled with that feeling of like, I don't want to be left behind. I want to do whatever I can to make sure that my athletes are okay. And if they're not okay, it's all on me. It's not on the head coach of the team, all that shit. Right. Like, And I feel like I'm being honest, like I have struggled with that. Like I've absolutely struggled with it even recently. Like I just went to Nashville to go hang out with my friends and go to see Rufus the Soul. And I worked most of the day before I did anything. Like, and I'm not saying that like it was a good or bad thing, but it was more so like, I want to make sure that my athletes are being serviced and I don't want to have to take time off if I don't have to. But looking back, I kind of wish I would have asked for some grace.
Mm.
Just because I planned this like 6 months ago. I could have told them 2 weeks ago, been like, hey, I've been planning this for 6 months. I'm excited about it. Can you guys move I could have done all that, but I didn't because I was like, I could do it all. I could do it. It's
Yeah.
fine. We're not doing anything during the day anyway. It's fine. And I am exhausted right now. Like I had a wonderful time at the concert. Like it was amazing. I looked cute. It was fun. That's why my hair is braided. But like I definitely think that I could have set some better boundaries there. And I would have been able to service my athletes a little bit better. Not that I didn't, but I just think that when you have 5,000 things going on in your head, that's probably the best time to set a boundary.
Mm.
I think that taking time off is one of the biggest struggles in the coaching industry. I've been coaching since 2013, but online since 2017. The only time I've taken actual full week vacation was once in the last 8 years. Every other time I do kind of what B just said is like, I'll consolidate them into like a shorter period of time during the week, or like maybe I'll extend my response time. So like instead of responding same day, I'm like, oh, I'm on vacation. I'll get back to you in 48 hours. And
Yeah.
that's a little ridiculous. So last year was the first time I took like an actual vacation from coaching. And it's something I will continue to do. But I think it is really hard to like have that realization that you do need and deserve the time off, and that your athletes are not going to
Leave.
disappear. I just get 1 week out of the 52 weeks or 50, however many weeks in a year there are. Like take that 1 week off. And you can just, what I've always done, if I take something off like that, is just push their payment out a week. So they still are getting the time that they paid for.
Mhm.
But I think we all deserve that time off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the one of the barriers to taking time off for coaches, there's a few things. One, there's internal pressure and scarcity, like afraid that their athletes are gonna just fucking leave if they are not available for some reason. And this happens to a lot of, I think, females and smaller coaches. Not that females are smaller coaches, but literally like females and coaches with smaller rosters. Like because you're trying to build, and so there's an internal pressure to make sure that everyone's happy so that you can keep your roster, especially if you are full time and this is your livelihood. And you kind of, just being straight up, kind of can't afford to like not have your athletes there. So like you're trying to over service so that they will stay. So there's a couple things going on there. And then also, what was I gonna say? I lost it. There was something that was really solid that I was gonna say, and then I lost it.
I mean, you nailed it though, because like I haven't like full transparency, and this is obviously not just because of coaching, but like B said, like having a smaller roster and being female, check for me. Eric and I got married 8 years ago yesterday. Like we just celebrated our 8th year wedding anniversary, and we still have not taken, thank you, we still haven't taken a honeymoon. Now, granted, this is why we got married in college. Who's going to take a honeymoon in college unless it's mommy, daddy money, which, well, no. So then, we just entered into our careers, and anyone that is an entrepreneur will know the hustle that it takes to build a business, female entrepreneurs, even much so. And I'm to the point where, like Brittany said, I'm still growing. Like I still want to work to build because I need to do that for my long-term success. And we've had conversations where I was like, sweetheart, like I can't afford to take a week off. Like I cannot afford to do that. My roster is not at the point where if I, God forbid, lose an athlete or two because of the fact that I was taking a week off, like our finances would not be impacted. I'm not there yet. So I'm going to ask for your grace and understanding and support because I need it. That you will stand by me and support me to understand what I am trying to build for us. And he has given that willingly, but they were some very difficult conversations. And I know that might sound dramatic to the audience, being like, everywhere has like a place for you to like bring your laptop and phone, but it's like, that's not a vacation then, right? Like I've done work vacations, but that's not a true vacation. And then also, Eric loves to go backpacking. And for those unfamiliar what backpacking is, it's like hiking on steroids. Like there is no cell tower, there is no communication. It is you were in the woods digging holes when you need to go to the bathroom type of backwoods mentality. So it's like communication is off the table because there is no way to communicate. And so that's something that like is difficult for me in taking a true vacation because I am in such a delicate position based on my perception of the fact that a week off would likely cost me way more than just a week time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you saying that, it came back into my head. So like pushing back payment is complicated for a couple reasons. One, you can't, when you have a smaller roster, most of the time you can't afford to not work, right?
Right.
And then also the complication of, well, what if your athletes are, what if they are upset or something, that they are not feeling like they're getting their full share of you if you take a week off. And I think that this is obviously an internal pressure we give to ourselves. But I talked to one of my athletes once, and she was like, why don't you just take like some time off? Like, this was a while back. And I was like, well, I know it's not a big deal to you guys. Like, it might not be a big deal to you guys. Maybe it's all in my head. But for me, feeling like I'm not showing up for some reason, because I know I'm a good coach, that bothers me. Like, and so, but remember, your inability, this is to my point, your inability to make those and put those boundaries up for yourself, that is all on you. And
100%.
honestly, we're probably making this more like a bigger deal than what it actually needs to be because of fear, because of scarcity, because of just literally lack of overall self-value, like, and just not being able to see the value in ourselves. So I think that once we're able to push past that, like Liz said, she's like, I'm able to take a full week vacation and I'm okay, And so I think that once we work on those things within ourselves, it is much easier to put up boundaries with our athletes. And it's much easier to put up boundaries with people in general. But it does get difficult, like when you're juggling like affordability plus self-value plus time plus all of that. It gets sticky because it's like no right or wrong answer. But I think that there's all of the things that are in the way of us setting our own boundaries have a lot to do with fear, scarcity, and lack of self-value. Those are the main three things.
100%.
Yeah, and I think something that made a big difference for me is realizing that as coaches, we often are teaching our athletes how to set boundaries. And it's if we can't even do that for ourselves, like what are we showing them? And a lot of times we do actually have to tell them in their own work situations, like, hey, you're not taking time for work, you're pouring from an empty cup, that type of thing. So if they actually see us setting a boundary and how we uphold those, then it encourages them and actually shows them like, oh, that's how I can do that in my own life. So it is kind of our place to show them as leaders that, hey, this is how you do it. And like everything's going to be fine,
Yeah, it's interesting. Sorry.
No, I was just saying I agree. You're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when I started putting up boundaries with my weekends, I had several athletes that felt very inspired by it. And they were like, that you're a better coach for that than you are just showing up all the time every day, or really not having an idea. Because I just didn't have an idea of what my meter looked like and how it was overfilling when I was constantly addressing things. I didn't feel burnt out, but I had a lack of awareness of when I was getting to that point. And what I used to do was just react emotionally toward the people around me. Like I would all of that energy goes to them, not my athletes. And so once I realized that reaction was happening and I was hurting people around me, or I was offending people, or I was even offending myself, then I was like, oh, that's a problem. Like I need to figure out where the source of that is. And then I did, and then here we are. So
I think the fear is kind of like delayed stages. Like the first fear is setting boundaries in the first place because you're worried of that perception of what people are going to feel. And then the second fear is then upholding them and enforcing them and having those difficult conversations when they are not being respected. But you have to understand that it's your job and responsibility to set and uphold and respect your boundaries in order for athletes and friends and family even to accept them and be accepting of them. But also how you deliver that message is also important, especially based on how clients communicate and receive information. There are some clients that like they tell you that you're done at 7 p.m. Okay, no big deal. And there's some clients that like they might text you afterward after your working hours, but again, you will say, I'll get back to you the next business day, and they're cool with that. Right. So it's your job though, if you have either automatic WhatsApp texting or whatever your service is to tell people that, hey, I'll get back to you ASAP tomorrow during my working hours. Like that's fine for me. I'll be honest, I haven't looked into that. Like I don't know how to do that, which is just me setting down time to Google it, right? But it's like my athletes know my boundaries. It's on their welcome packet. It is within the WhatsApp group chat. And it's like from 7 to 7, Monday through Thursday, and then from 7 to 5, Friday and Saturday is like my working hours. And there's no communication on Sunday. Now, if they send information and stuff outside of those working hours, that's fine. Like I would rather them send it so they don't forget, especially if it's like something very important, than them not send it at all. But it's my job to turn off WhatsApp notifications outside of my working hours, or to put my phone on do not disturb, or to have like my charging station put away after 7 p.m. Right? It's my job to do that, to give myself the gift of peace, because for the longest time I never did that. It was the idea of being available 24/7. And like I said, that transparency meter just took into effect. And it is scary at first. I feel like females probably have a harder time than males when it comes to setting boundaries and then upholding them, and especially having those difficult conversations. But you don't need to be mean or aggressive. You can just be like, hey, so I can service you. This is a reminder of my working hours. The reason why I have them is so I can rest and recharge and be at my best. So that way I can make sure that you're at yours. Right. And it's like, if you phrase it like that, I mean, shit, I want Austin at his best. Like, we're balls deep in my prep. If he was not taking care of himself and it was starting to reflect in his level of service, and therefore it reflected in my physique, I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed and disappointed. So therefore, flip the script as your coach yourself. Wouldn't you want to give your best to your athletes who likely give their best for you as they show up as part of the team?
yeah, I think that's a good piece to like talk through, is like having tough conversations with your athletes or with whomever, like when they're crossing that boundary. And like sometimes it's just a reminder. Sometimes it's like, hey, like just want to remind you that this is how we either need to be communicating, or this is when I'd like for you to submit your check-ins. This is where I want your questions to be. Like stuff like that. Like sometimes it can be difficult to say it out loud to someone, but really your delivery is everything.
Yep.
Like Ashley said, like your delivery is absolutely everything. I think at first when I started setting these types of boundaries, I felt like I wasn't as considerate of the person's feelings that I was talking to. And it was just like, I'm not responding to this. Like this was sent on a Saturday, like straight up. And over time, I've figured out how to just change the way that I deliver things, whether that's an automatic message on WhatsApp. Like if it pops up and someone double messages me and they're like, hey, like I didn't get a response from you, I'll say, like, I have a away message up. You can read it. It says that I don't respond to anything on Saturdays. Like, so that I don't have to like I'm automatically enforcing a boundary. But I can reinforce it if I need to, if someone's not paying attention. or they're not listening, you know? And so I think that that was something that I had to learn for my, as a person, not just as a coach, but as a person. Like I had to learn how to deliver things in a way that was able to be received by other people without like hurting them at the same time.
Yeah,
So
and to your point, like the boundaries for you and not them. And I think just in general, people have a hard time with that with boundaries. It's like, no, this is for me. And that's how I kind of usually communicate it to athletes of like, for example, why I don't accept check-ins after noon, is this is how it impacts me. If I start accepting check-ins all the way till whatever time, then I'm not able to serve the other athletes who have check-ins the same day. It throws off everything. And then they're like, oh, I understand, versus just being like, hey, you didn't check in by noon, screw you, without like explaining it to them. So I think just giving them the context is helpful. And I think with the late check-ins, that was one of the main things. Not so much taking days off, but not accepting late check-ins was one of the harder boundaries for me to focus on, because they're literally sending you their check-in, and for you to be like, no, I'm not going to review this. Like that's a hard one to push. I did kind of a one strike policy where I'm like, hey, this is a hard boundary for me. It's in a rule. It's on your, like you said, on your welcome packet. It's in your document. Like I do not accept an afternoon. So I'll give them one exception. And after that, I'll be like, hey, sorry, I've already had this conversation with you. I look forward to your next check-in on time next week. And I've never had them send a late one again after having that conversation.
Yeah.
yeah,
Matter
I do some.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do something very similar to you where it's like you get a life happens moment, but if it happens again, then it's like, yes, it's important to have those boundaries to be set and to be enforced and be like and explain the why behind them. And then in some cases, maybe even taking a step forward, like, hey, is this not a good check-in day for you? Or is like the check-in process too complicated? Can we simplify it so that way we can effectively communicate without overwhelming you? Or, hey, I have an idea. You check in on Wednesday, but why not go ahead and fill out your check-in questions in your sheet Tuesday night, take your photos Wednesday morning, send it over, I'll take care of you. Like giving them solutions, because a lot of the times it's not because clients are dumb or ignorant. It's just they literally might not know how to check in effectively, right? And since we've been coached and or have been coaches for so long, for us, we could probably type out a message in our sleep, right? In fact, I'm sure we even thought about what we're going to say to our coach the check-in day. There are some clients that are so overwhelmed and consumed by their thoughts and their life that maybe they're just starting out or they're still in the inner stages of setting boundaries themselves to where their life is so chaotic or their brain is so chaotic that like they just literally need to be helped a little bit more versus a seasoned competitor or a seasoned athlete that's like sending you their check-in at like 5:30 in the morning after they like, did their stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like I like what you said about taking a step forward and providing solutions, because that's how you work together, right? That's how you work together as coaching and athlete or coaching client. Um, I when if I see an athlete that's really struggling with their ability to submit, I will always, always, always ask them like, is right now, is the time that I have for you a good time? And if not, what do you think will work for you? Or like if you're not checking in and you feel intimidated by the check-in process, what exactly do you feel uncomfortable with? So like when you open up your sheet and you see your check-in document, what parts of those areas that I'm asking you to fill out feel like too much for you to where you feel ick when you are typing this out. Like if you like when you're doing something that you don't want to do, or filling out something that makes you feel uncomfortable, or communicating something that makes you feel uncomfortable, there's a reason why. So like a lot of times for those that like are really like they have a lot of anxiety surrounding their weight or seeing measurements or numbers, like why, like why is that making you feel uncomfortable? Do we need to lower the amount that you are inputting your weight, stuff like that, so that you will actually check in with me? Like like I think that that's something to think through as well. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I
especially
agree.
Brett.
I
Oh,
have
go
a
ahead.
question on my check-in sheet that just asked, like, is there any part of your program or anything that you're struggling with? And that check-in process is part of that too. So I think just like having that communication of like them being able to say what specific thing is the holdup for them can be huge. And you mentioned on like the taking weekends off thing of like that's kind of scary to tell people like, no, you can't send a check-in on the weekend. So if I have someone who like the weekend ideally would be best for them, I will do something like, hey, send it on Sunday. If you're okay with me reviewing it on Monday, yours is the first one I'll look at. And I've worked that out for a lot of people where like Monday is like, to me, that's their check-in day, but they're sending it a day early. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Like, no big
Yeah.
deal.
That's like logistics, especially if there's like a time zone difference. Like I have a woman in California, and it's like her check-in's Monday, but it's like there's obviously a huge time gap. And so she sends it over like Sunday evening, and I'm not on my phone Sunday evening because that's my no communication day. So obviously when I get up fresh Monday morning and my working hour, she's the first one that I look at because she showed up, right? So the least I can do is show up for her. And then also like keeping, especially if you are a contest prep coach yourself, like you yourself are in contest prep, another powerful asset of setting boundaries around check-in times is brain power. Dog, I could hammer away check-ins all day. But the minute it's like Cinderella's pumpkin, the 12 p.m. strikes. Yeah, 12 p.m. strikes. My brain fog. Oof. I'm like looking at a check-in response, like trying to like formulate a fucking sentence because I just cannot think. Right? And there's no amount of morpho brain that will help me at a certain point, especially when you get deep, 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 deep into prep. So a lot of the times it's like making sure that you're mentally fresh for your athletes so you can provide and uphold the standard of your service, right? But obviously, if you're not a coach that preps or does extreme diets, like maybe that's not something to consider. But let's say you have a second job or you have family obligations and responsibilities or appointments or something like that. Like, I get that you might only be able to snag a certain appointment at a certain time, but also thinking about the fact that you don't want your clients waiting on you like several hours after they sent their check-in because they might start to feel like a number or an afterthought, and that's not a good feeling. So it's like making sure that again you're managing your workflow resources and also intertwining that into your personal life because like, while yes, kids get sick and your clients of course are understanding of giving you grace, like you still want to make sure that since you are providing a service and being paid for it, you still show up too. So while it's really important to have boundaries, it's also important to not like take advantage of them either. Like be professional, I guess is the message.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think just like the communication aspect is huge for that. Like, especially you mentioned like the second job, which I just picked up another full-time job again. And to me, the communication to my athletes was like, hey, I'm still going to get back to you same day, but it might be not as fast as you're used to with me. And like they've all been very gracious with that. And for me, that will be like something that I figure out more as I adjust my schedule and figure out how that's all going to look again. But I think the communication and just like having the expectations set is huge. And, just working through those things as they come up.
Yeah. The communication part like is super important, I think, because I think my coach, he, in comparison to other people I've worked with, he communicates a lot more, but he also asks for more grace than I have seen with other people I've worked with. Meaning like he'll have like a really tough day with a ton of meetings and he'll be super behind on check-ins and he'll just put it in the group chat and say, hey, I'm really behind on check-ins. I'm not going to push myself to get through this right now. I will get to back to everyone tomorrow. Which like with previous coaches I've worked with, either they didn't communicate that at all and they just didn't get back to me until like 3 days later, or they just push themselves and run themselves into the ground. And that's not fun, right? Because you're not showing up as your best self, right? So I think that in itself, like just communicating and saying like this is where I'm at, like and this is what I can and can't do right now is like really admirable. And that has actually inspired me as a coach. Like just it's okay. Like it's serious. It's serious in some cases, like if you have contest prep, very time pressed, like response times and things like that. But it's okay sometimes if you need to like communicate a boundary randomly or like off the fly because you know that you can't provide your best self in that time because things can change. You can get sick. Like you could get sick, somebody could pass away, your family member could be sick. Um yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so in those cases, like all you have to do is say, hey, this is where I'm at and provide that boundary. And those people generally will be very gracious. I have a new job. I'm trying to learn, Liz. Like as long as you communicate with people, they just like really appreciate that. That's all you need to do.
And I think they actually appreciate it, like if they actually know what's going on with you, because if you say like, hey, I'm like so burnt out, I can't even read your check-in right now. Like I will not be able to work my way through it in my brain to tell them like I'm going to look at this with fresh eyes tomorrow after I've had a good night of rest. They're going to appreciate that versus you trying to give them some like bullshit response of like just to answer their check-in and not give them like the actual effort that they deserve there. So if you're like, hey, I just need a little rest and I can get back to you, they're going to appreciate like I'm actually getting the service that I'm paying for, you know?
Absolutely. But real talk though, 4 days without a communication from your coach,
Uh-oh.
that's not the move. That's not the move. Um,
I if that ever happens, that means I died or I'm in the hospital or something.
But like
that's-
something happened. And
Yeah.
I tell my athletes, like, if I don't respond same day and you submit your check-in, double message me because something has happened.
yeah.
Like that I'm injured, I am in the hospital, or I did not get your check-in, or something happened to where I didn't see it. Like I've had, things are gonna slip here and there. You're not gonna be perfect. Like I've had an athlete submit her check-in on 2 occasions, and my WhatsApp accidentally archived her chat. So like I didn't see her submit. And so I had to figure out why that kept happening, right? But it's just one of those things where you can uphold your standards, but also like you're not going to be perfect with it. So as long as you communicate to your athletes that you know you're not perfect, they will be very gracious about it. But if you sit there and say, I'm going to get to everyone same day, all the time, going to make sure that I do everything I need to, which is good, and then you don't uphold that standard, and then you don't communicate with them when you can't, that's when people get pissed off because they're expecting something that
Right.
you're not able to provide because you're not showing up and providing yourself grace and boundaries.
When my mom was in the hospital and after I got the news and Eric and I were like on the road, like I texted my athlete group chat. I was like, guys, I'm in the middle of a family emergency. I don't know the future. I ask for your grace because like I will continue to service you, but the family emergency is very serious. Like I want to be there for my family, but I also understand that you guys are paying for a service. All I ask is for your grace. And like I kept them updated as I knew stuff. Like if I, took a little bit longer to respond, like they knew why. And I received some of the best feedback from my athletes in their check-ins the week after. And one of the things that stuck out the most was if you didn't tell me that you were experiencing a family emergency, I never would have noticed. So it's like that just solidifies that, like B had mentioned, I have done such a good job managing my inflows and outflows when it comes to work, making sure that my athletes feel cared for and serviced to a point where when something happened in my life, because I helped upheld boundaries and also made sure that I communicated that they were just as loving toward me and giving me grace and space to be with my family to do what I needed to do, that it didn't really even phase them. But the fact that I also was vulnerable with them helped them to be more vulnerable with me. And so in reality, while I would not wish family emergencies or death or tragedy to anyone, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We all have our own stressors and conflicts and scares and fears. And it's not that you have to air your dirty laundry or, do the hot goss. It's, hey, family emergency, I'm scared. Want to still service you, but please lend me grace. Like I think it was Liz that even said that. Like they will respect you for that. And then one step further, they will take that and implement it in themselves. and you just get better, well-rounded athletes and clientele, and you also get better retention.
Yeah, because something I typically like how I have my client check-in schedule is like their check-in day is their check-in day. And it's not that they can't reach out to me on non-check-in days, but I encourage them to kind of take notes on their phone, like on their notepad of
Yeah.
questions for Liz for check-in. I always just ask like if you can wait till your next check-in day, save it for that. But if it's urgent and you like can't complete your programming or like can't move on with your day without an answer, then reach out. It's not whatever. But my point being, with the new job situation, and I am replying a little bit later to people, I am kind of having that conversation of I'm totally fine if our conversation trickles into the next day. Like you're not like crossing a boundary in that way. And I'm kind of having to change my boundaries in that sense. And I had an athlete check in with me Monday. I got back to her, and then we were going back and forth about me changing her program, and I updated her program like the next day, and she's like, "Oh my God, thank you for like updating my program on a non-check-in day." And I'm like, "Girl, like this is still part of your check-in. I'm still gonna do it." But even the fact that she was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much," there's just that mutual respect there. But talking about, you were talking about more like personal things there, and I think this is a good segue into one of the other pieces with boundary setting is just with clients who share like personal things.
Yeah.
There is a line we have to draw where we're not people's therapists.
Yes.
But this can be pretty dicey because for a lot of people, we are the only person that they do have in their life who that they can just like kind of vent to. This can go overboard. Like I've definitely had situations where clients dump like everything and anything on me, and then I'm very empathetic. I take all that on myself, and
Yeah.
I've suffered pretty hard on that side of things. And then I had to learn to set that boundary. And if I am the only person and the only safe space for them, I kind of tell them like, hey, if I'm the only person that you can tell this to, like, feel free to share it. But I'm just letting you know, like, I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to be able to like actually give you a response on that. And I usually will just say like, I heard you mention this. This is something I can't really respond to, and just kind of like set the boundary there. Or that might maybe when I say, this would be a great talk to have with a therapist, and then kind of lead them in that direction. If they need resources, need help finding a therapist, point them in that direction. But we are not therapists. And there definitely is like a scope of practice thing there too that's important to uphold.
Yeah.
I agree. And setting boundaries when it comes to therapy, but even like, I don't want to like open up this can of worms, but I do want to touch on this slightly, is like boundaries can also be relayed to scope of practice. Like I feel like there is a pressure on coaches to be everything for everyone, like doctors, coaches, training, nutrition, PEDs, functional health, physical therapists. It's like, while it's important to keep an open mind, it's also important to have a strong referral network. And if you're out of your fucking depth, dude, own that, right? It's like if a client is having an issue with their biomechanics, okay, well, obviously it's within my scope of practice to look at training videos, right? That's part of my job because obviously if their movement mechanics are trash, I'm not going to be like, oh, can't fucking help you, go to a physical therapist, when it could be a very simple cue, right? But at the same time, if it's like a prior injury, you've done your homework on movement mechanics, maybe you've sent them light YouTube work to see if you can fix the problem, but it's still occurring, then it's like, okay, unless you do have your doctorate in physical therapy, like this is where you need to have, again, a referral system, right? Like you don't need to understand how their insurance works. That's not your job, right? But it's like, hey, listen, like I work with a physical therapist, I work with a mental therapist, right? Because I can't expect that of Austin. That's not his job, right? So it's being proactive as an athlete, but then also like having a referral network as a coach or having the ability to speak up and hey, listen, I want what's best for you. I've exhausted my resource and knowledge here, or I can't help you with this because I just am not qualified. But here are resources to help you or to get you started. Because a lot of the times it's not that athletes aren't capable, it's maybe they're so paralyzed by fear they can't make a decision. So it's like just giving them a little runway to be like, hey, here's something that might help you. Right. So for example, had a client that I know where she's from. Like she lives in my hometown. I know her job, right? So it's like I knew she needed therapy because it was impacting what we were doing, but I can't be her therapist. So what I did was like, hey, your job has this therapy network. It looks like it's provided, but look into it. I gave her the link. She ran with it, right? Now, was that scope of practice? I mean, I would say it's fine because I wasn't playing her therapist, but I took 5 minutes to look at her questionnaire, see where she worked, looked up to see if there were any therapy or links that she could utilize and sent it to her, right? And she's having a better response to what we're doing as a coach client. And then she's a better mom now because of it. So it's like it's one of those things where going the extra mile and then also referring out when you are out of your depth, that makes more loyal and better clients and better referrals and better retention. So it's like know your place, but also don't be afraid to like literally help a client, especially if you know that client is so overwhelmed with themselves that they might not even know how to get started.
Yeah, for sure.
Any final thoughts? That was a good discussion, ladies.
That was good.
Agreed.
I don't have anything else. I think I'm pretty solid.
I'd say so. Girl, I love those braids. Like you were saying that you looked cute this weekend. I was like that was doing you not enough justice. You were looking like a fire.
I was a snack that likes to snack.
Ooh,
I'm a snack that likes to snack.
ooh. I like that. I like that. Why don't we conclude with some gratitudes and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Liz, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for the new job and
Mm,
my app giving me grace when we were on that topic.
mm. I like
Uh,
that.
I am grateful for the amount of stuff I have coming up because when I come back home, I can finally settle in my space.
Mm.
Yeah, I have a lot of travel coming up. I have an athlete going on stage here soon, and it's like just a lot of stuff that I haven't yet had to do as a coach yet, and so it's pretty cool to see that happening. Um, and yeah, I'm grateful in general for
I
all.
like that. I
What
like
about you, Adam?
I feel like this is silly, but this is, I mean, being grateful for this is like not being silly. I'm grateful that like I have athletes in prep this year because that is where I'm severely lacking in experience and knowledge. And I have an athlete that is natural and an athlete that is enhanced, which I is what I had last year. And I am just ready to prove to myself and gain that confidence and ability to continue to learn and take on more prep athletes. And I'm excited for that. And I'm grateful for the opportunity because like I love every piece of my job, but I also love the bodybuilding space a little bit more since like that's how I identify. And so the fact that I'm in prep and I have athletes that are in prep, like I don't know, I'm really grateful for that experience.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
excited for you.
Thank you. I'm excited for Amy. Like I'm excited for Amy, let's be honest. Like
oh man, I'm nervous as fuck. It's it's a lot. Being a contest prep coach is hard.
yeah.
Being like somebody that people identify as, oh, like she will prep you, she can prep you, refer to her. Like that is at first like you're saying, Ash, how that's the direction you want to go in or would like to go in. A direction you would like to go in. It's also a lot of pressure. Like, especially when you're dealing with an athlete like Amy, who has like a really solid shot as a natural to like do her thing. It's a lot. Like, and I'm nervous. I'm excited, but I'm also very nervous.
Well, I'm sure you feel a lot of pressure because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but her and I have talked because like we're bikini athletes and like I just like talking to people that I care about, right? And I care about you and I care about her. And she was telling me, I think on the live that we did, that this is likely
Yeah.
her last season just because she wants to do other things. So I'm sure you do feel a lot of pressure to like make it count, but like you've done such a wonderful job and I know you're scared. I'm sure you have like thoughts and feelings, but like all that to say this, I am so excited and so proud of you because you ladies have done some damn fine work and have made an impact for other female coaches and female athletes moving forward. So I'll say that.
Thank you. Regardless of what happens. But yeah, it it depends. Her stopping or continuing entirely depends on the result. And
Hmm.
so that is the pressure that's there. She's not going to stop coaching with me because she'll always be an athlete to some
Yeah.
degree. But like, um, it's it's just kind of making some noise as far as being on my own and being on a week, like having my own thing. Like even her winning the overall at the Natural Ohio, that was a tough like overall to go through at a natural show. And so, and that's one of the biggest natural shows of the year in the NPC. And so her husband actually told me after, he was like, I'm excited and I'm happy for you and Amy, but I also really understand what this means for you, like what this means to you. And like I started tearing up because I was like, thank you. Like it's not just like, oh, my athlete wins or doesn't. It's like there's so many internal things that need to happen for me. And then also, obviously, I want to give her what she wants too. So yeah, that's where all that's coming from. But it's exciting stuff. So
Yeah. I'm excited and proud. And just let me know what you need from me as your friend, whether that's space, whether that's prayers, whether that's me checking in on you. Like, make sure that you know that you have so many people standing behind you that all you got to do is communicate with us to let us know how to help.
my God, we're having a whole deep conversation. We're
Girl, I tell you what, I'll make it not deep. I got waxed today and I feel brand new. I feel
having
brand new.
Brand new booty.
But this is but these are the types of conversations that like I feel like female coaches should be having with each other.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to be vulnerable with your female colleagues and be able to say like, yeah, I know I'm capable, but yeah, this is also a lot. Like, so it's an interesting time. I think that this is important for people to see. So
It is. At least how we do it. I don't know how other people do it. Maybe they have more like bitchy, ranty conversations, but I'm past that. I'm past that energy. I want to know how I can make you better so that way I can learn from you.
I got you, friend.
All right, appreciate it. Love you, ladies. Have a good one, and we'll catch you next
Bye.
time. Peace.
Bye.